July the 11th, 2021. Guys, you're looking at images over New Mexico, and there's a flight being launched today. It could be a record breaker. It will at least be a first of its kind. And it's Richard Branson's, who owns Virgin Galactic. It's his spacecraft. And there's three people, Elon Musk, Bezos, and Richard Branson, that are kind of racing to be the first, I guess you would call it commercial space travel. Get up about 55 miles above the Earth, cut the engines off, drift around a little bit, and come back. Now, Branson, to me, has by far the best idea. Instead of the big clunky rockets like Bezos and Elon Musk are using that have had disastrous results, and Richard Branson has had a few accidents also, but these planes are lifted by larger planes, his space plane. And then once you get to a certain altitude, it's released, and for a moment it's just gliding, and then its rockets kick in, and it goes on up to, again, 55 miles. And you're weightless at that point, and so we may get some images of that from the different people that are traveling. Now, he decided to get on this one, this first flight, because, again, competition with Bezos and Elon Musk. But, guys, there's nothing wrong with competition, because that's how great things are accomplished, you know, with competitive nature. That's just mankind. But you know what it reminds me of more than anything else is in the ancient Sumerian literature, they talked about the Anunnaki and the ones that come from space and all this. But right before this great flood, for you that are familiar with it, it's going to ring a bell. There was a great flood coming, and this is where many people say the story of Noah came from, Gilgamesh. But right as this flood was coming, these rockets lifted off with the elite on it. So they hovered and they took off like birds on the wing as they rode up into the sky and waited for the flood to pass. It kind of reminds me of that, and it's like a preparation for that type of event, something that might be coming upon the planet that the very rich and the elect don't want to have anything to do with. Now, they're saying it's all in preparation to go further into space to Mars and all, but guys, to be honest with you, I think we've been on Mars for many, many years, going a long time back, and you understand the fallen angels of Epoch, and you can tie that in with the angels that came down during the Anunnaki text and took women. They were told not to. They were supposed to be watchers. So really, guys, if you want to think about this, and you know you don't have to divide history the way a lot of people try to do it. They say, well, the Greeks had gods, the Romans had gods, each culture had its gods. But do you know that they were all exactly the same? Even the Mayan gods, Aztec gods, they were the same group of people. If you can go back and trace the original names, you'll see they all are tied into Anu, who was the leader of the Sumerians, of the Anunnaki. And it was one set of gods with different names from different cultures that all did the same thing. The astronauts that left South America were the same group, more than likely, that had a lot to do with Baalbek and the taking of those women when it was all said and done. And if you study in the history of the Gates of the Gods, then it talks about a sudden retreat at that point. And I think that ties in South America with the Great Flood of Gilgamesh. All of this was happening, and the people that had the rocket ships could escape it. And that's exactly what happens. It goes back to Noah landing, going up on the mountain with the gods when they re-landed. But anyway, Branson is supposed to lift off today. The countdown is over on Twitter. And Branson himself viewed the brief up and down trip as a confidence builder in his space tourism company. Not only for the 600 plus people already holding reservations for a joyride, but for others thinking of plunking down a few $100,000 for a chance to leave Earth's atmosphere. I think he sold 600 tickets at $250,000 apiece, and that will go, that's going to be spread out over many flights. Now, he's turning 71 years old in a week, so, he's getting on up there. But again, his design to me is much more favorable than the rockets launching. It's just sitting on top of a several-ton rocket that is loaded with explosive fuels and goes off like a bottle rocket. Just is not it just doesn't make sense to me. And I know that for years that's what they thought they had to do to break the barrier to get into space and all that. But I just think it's the wrong approach, and I think Branson has the right idea. But you guys that are out there in the area of Truth or Consequences in New Mexico, you may see this flight again. You're going to see, if you're close enough, you'll see one plane leave, and then with a smaller plane attached to the bottom of it. Just makes more sense. So I hope that everyone's safe in this thing. Flight to me has always been something that's been very fascinating. Now, going into outer space, not so much. I like it where you can have oxygen and a parachute if you need to get back under certain conditions, if you understand what I'm saying. But it is definitely an experiment and in avionics, and I think it's going to be interesting to watch. But if you guys in, again, Truth or Consequences New Mexico area, if you see anything or you can close enough to see the plane from maybe outside the airport or wherever they're at there, you may get some pictures and send to us. That would be interesting. But you know that the whole world will be watching this, because the billionaires around the planet are very interested in the ability to launch off the surface if needed. And with some of the troubles that we see coming, you really can't blame them. But there's a passage in the Bible, and it's talking about the end times, and God says you can go into the deepest parts of earth, the deepest caves, deepest depths, or the highest heights of heaven. When it's time for me to reach out and touch you, I'm going to get it. I'm going to do it. So, whatever. A lot of these people may be just atheists that don't understand that, but some are just adventurers. And I think it's a mixture of both. But there is a great interest in the ability to suddenly get well above the planet, just in case. But we're watching it, guys. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.